What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. My name's Nick. This is Gen W. If you've ever opened a stock chart and thought, where do I even start? This video is for you. Today I'm walking through the step-by-step of how to build your first chart, create a custom watch list, and add the exact indicators that I use and a lot of professional traders use every single day. By the end of this video, you'll have a clean, fully functioning TradingView chart that helps you set up and read market trends, identify reversals, and look for trades with confidence, not confusion. So let's dive in. When you first open TradingView, the screen can look intimidating, but don't worry, we're going to break it down into simple sections. So when I open this screen, you can see on the charts, I've got some easy ones that are already made that I use on a daily basis. We don't have to worry about these. We're not going to talk about them today. We will talk about them in a later video. Down below, you have access to screeners, which will help you find trade setups that you're looking for, along with calendars that have key market info, as well as things like heat maps, where you can see how the market is performing on a given day. For right now, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on creating a new chart layout, something that you can build and use in your own home setup. So if you think back to last time we talked, I left a referral link down below where you guys could get a TradingView account set up at no cost. There are paid versions that you can get that have more data, more insights into them. However, you don't need that right now. And so for now, all we're going to do is focus on the free version along with how to get this going. I'm not sponsored by TradingView, so I just want to throw that out there for transparency's sake, but I do encourage that everyone uses a TradingView chart. So the first thing that we're going to do is when we open this up, you can notice that this looks a little intimidating. Don't worry, we're going to break this down by sections, and we're going to help you guys get this set up. So across the main bar up here, you can see I have access to my account with some key information, along with where I can change the indicator, across the top, you're going to see some key sections. The one over here is you can see some settings, basic information. We're not going to spend any time on this. But over here, what you really want to focus on. And this is where we can change the different stocks that we're looking at. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the SPY. The SPY is the ETF that tracks the S&P 500. I find that this is the easiest for people to start with. It's the easiest to look at. It has the most predictable price action. So once you understand this, it's really easy to get into those specific stocks like NVIDIA, Tesla, some of the other ones that are in line with that. So what you do up here is you can type this in. You can either type the full name of a stock like Tesla, select it, and it'll filter to that stock. As I mentioned, we're going to focus on the SPY because this is a good starting place for everyone to look at. When you come into the chart, first thing that you're going to notice is you're going to notice the name in the background, so SPY, so we know we're on the right chart. And then we're going to see the candlesticks. We're going to see the volume pattern at the bottom. We'll see the price of the individual stock over here on the right. On the left, these are some of our drawing tools. So you're going to see things like you can be able to draw lines. You can use things like Fibonacci's. You can doodle around if you want to. I'm not going to focus on these all too much just because that's not the point at this video, but this will come later along the path. Up top, I mentioned you'll see the stock ticker. You're going to see the time frame. And so what this represents is the different time frames you can trade on. And these are really customizable. So for getting started, what I recommend is everyone start at the 1-day time frame. And this is what I look at whether I'm investing long-term or I'm getting ready to trade intraday for day trading. So when we look at here, when we set this indicator time frame or the stock chart time frame, what we're looking at is each of these bars is represented by the time frame. So right now it's set to the daily. So each of these bars represents 1 day. And if I look at the bottom, you can see, like if I look at last Friday's, this is saying October 31st of 25. This bar represents 1 day's worth of price action. I change it, go to the 30-minute. Each of these bars represents 30 minutes, and it'll tell you its start time. So this bar here started at 1300, which is 1 o'clock, and it ran for 30 minutes, which means the next bar started at 1:30. This will be key to know going further in time, but again, like what I said, start with the 1-day time frame. The next part of this is you're going to see you have the option to select candle charts. You can select a line graph, all these different things, these different options. For us, we just want to look at the candles, and we're going to do another video on analyzing candlesticks and understanding how to read them. But like I said, this is just a basic of how to get you into TradingView, how to get you to understand the charts and what we're looking at. Next up, we have the indicators. There are hundreds of thousands of indicators that are in here. If you click on here, you can see all these various ones. You can see ones that are invite only. So if you have any friends that have created ones, you can see ones that are based around the technicals, the technical chart. You can see financial ones. You can see the top ones, the trending ones, or you can search for specific ones. You also have a section to favorite them. So if there's ones that you like to play with, you can hit the star next to them, and that'll put them in this favorites tab. Going along, you can set alerts. So if a price hits a certain price point, so like I want to know next time the stock price gets down to 674, I can hit the alert, or I can set it up here manually. As soon as the price touches it, this alert will go off. It sends you a ping. It's how I like to get into a lot of trades, but that option is up here. And then the next one is the replay bar. So this replay bar will allow you to test out some of the things that you're looking at, test out how some of the indicators move, test out how things happen. So if I want to know, starting from before this big red day, I can hit, play, and now it's going to show me how the price action moved. So if you ever want to back test, which I highly encourage, this replay bar is going to be your friend. And it's going to automatically play things out bar by bar, and you can change how fast it goes. You can change the interval that it moves at. But essentially, it's going to give you the ability to review your trades, or what you would like to do, or what you would have done. Next up over here, you can change the layout. And so this is part of the different versions. So I have the premium version, which allows me to have up to 8 windows in here, but I could change this so that I can have 8 screens at one time. And I can change each of these to different time frames. I can change them to different stock symbols. Let's see if I put like NVIDIA over here, Tesla over here. I can change all these. And now I can start to mess with the time frame. So this is on a 30-minute, and maybe I want NVIDIA on the hour. We'll talk through a little bit later on why something like this would be important. But again, I recommend starting out with just one chart, get yourself comfortable. So I'm only looking at one window right now here. I'm set at just the SPY on the daily time frame. As you go further, you can change some of the settings in the chart, which we're not going to talk about too much. But if you want to change the colors, there's some people who like to use different colors, blue and red bars, blue and purple bars. However you want to set it up, you can mess with some of the information that's coming through here. If we switch over to the right side, this is where you can start to create a watch list, which we'll do today. So these are some of the stocks I trade on a daily basis. I'll trade it through here. I can also create one. I can see my kids' stocks. These are up here. These are some of the ones I'm watching for them if I ever add to their long-term account. Or from updating, here's the ones I'm watching, different sectors in the S&P. You have the ability to customize this. The next one is the alerts. So you can see I've got a number of alerts that have gone off. Sometimes I action these, sometimes I don't. But it's a good way so you don't have to watch multiple things at one time. You can just set the alert when it gets to a level. Now you know you need to pay attention to it and jump over. Different areas down here, you can do chats. So there is a community functionality where you can talk to other people that are using TradingView. And then as you go further down, there's ways to get news alerts. There's ways to create custom scripts. So if you want to create an indicator and you're super savvy in technology, you can do that. ChatGPT can also help you create some of these indicators. But that's some of the basics on how you're going to use this chart and some of the things you can look at. So left, drawing functionality. The top is the chart that you want to look at, the time frame. the indicators. The right is watch list. Those are the things we're going to focus on for today. So as I mentioned, we're gonna look at the SPY today. We're looking at the 1-day time frame. I'm going to shrink this down a little bit so it fits in the screen. Now for day trading, I like to start at the 1-day. We can identify where's the stock going, what's its general trend, so we can see this is higher highs, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low-ish around here. So higher low, higher high. Now we want to set another higher low. We'll talk about trend analysis as we go through some of these videos, but that's what I like to look at. Now, intraday, you want to filter this down. You want to look at something smaller, like a 15-minute chart that gets a little more granular so you can see where you need to enter in. All right, so let's move on to the next part, which is creating a watch list. So as you can see, I have a ton of stuff in here, and feel free to take a screenshot here. I don't look at all of this all the time, but some of the things in here, the futures market, for the S&P 500, the technology sector, the NQ, the small caps, the RTY. Look at things like the ETF that's tracking the semiconductors, oil, the dollar, the volatility index, gold, silver, Bitcoin, and Ethereum. Then, as I mentioned, the different sectors of the S&P 500. So if you want to create a new list, all you're going to do, let's go over here, click on create a new list. You call this what you want. So Gen W, that's Q, Gen W. And now you're going to come up and you're going to hit the plus symbol. And you can type in everything you want. So we're going to start with SPY. Let's say we also want to do the QQQ, which is the tech sector, and the IWM, which is small caps. Now we've created a watch list. This is going to save in here. Every time we open it up and we click on this, it's going to come over here. And now we can easily toggle between stocks on a given time frame. So let's talk through some of the settings. So if you go up to the setting button, you can change this to how you want to look. So if you want the body of the candles to be blue, now they're blue, that means up. Yellow means down. You can change the borders to blue, yellow, the wicks, blue and yellow. Oop, that's not the right one. Blue, yellow. So you have full customizability in here. Now, I don't want that. I like the red because the red tells me it's moving down. The green moves it's up. But some people, if you have color blindness or if you have any other special limitations, you can customize this chart to look at however you want. So as you're looking at the chart, the next thing we're going to talk about is what you're seeing on here. So let's go back to the 1-day. I'm going to scroll this down. So I mentioned on here, each of these bars represents a 1-day time frame. Over here is the price that you're seeing. So right now the stock closed over here at 682.06. You can adjust this to see however you want. So if I want to see more bars, I can shrink this down, makes it look smaller. But it does give you the control over here. The time frame down below, if you guys ever want to adjust this and say I want to see a 1 year, you can adjust there. Now it's showing me a year worth of data. Or if I want to see 5 years worth of data, you're gonna have to adjust this bar for the price to make all the windows fit, because the stock market does generally move up over time. Now you're seeing 1 day or this is 1 week, it adjusts out there. But if I want to change it back, I can do 1 day and scroll. This is dragging my wheel down. So you have full customizability in here and how you're seeing this. Generally, when I'm looking at the 1 day, I'm not looking too far out because it doesn't matter what happened back here in April necessarily until we get closer. And that goes into more of setting support and resistance levels, which we'll talk about later. One big thing that I want to call out when you're doing these charts is clarity beats complexity every day of the week. So sometimes you're going to see people with charts and they have lines all over the place and they have indicators left and right, and it doesn't help. Um, some of the best trades you're going to get are because you understand support and resistance, because you understand moving averages. It's not going to be because you have some fancy indicator saying you should get in here and sell here. Those are usually reactive and they're going to show you something after the move has already happened. What we want you to do is be able to see these things ahead of time so you can say, okay, where is my buy level if I'm adding to my long-term account, or where's my trade level if you're day trading? We're going to jump into the fun part in a second, but one last thing that I want to highlight here is these bars at the bottom. You guys may be wondering what these are. These are volume bars. And so when we look at these, they're showing how much volume is trading on a stock on a given day. And if it's red or if it's green, that means there was more buying than selling, or if it's red, excuse me. If it's red, it means there was more selling than there was buying. The days that have more volume are the days that we really want to get involved, because that means that there's a strong bias in the action that's happening on the given day. So if we look over here, this was a big move back here on the 10th of October. And we can see this was a huge volume spike compared to the other days. Whereas, like this day right here, look at how much the stock moved. It went from a low of 669.98 and the high was 673 roughly. That was low volume. That's a $4 day. Normally this chart will move much greater than that. So if we look over here at this big day, the high was 674 roughly, and the low was 652. That is a lot of price movement. And those are the days that we really want to look for. So let's jump into the indicators a little bit. And I don't want to make this overly complex, so we're just going to talk about some of the basics today. So volume is technically an indicator, and what you'll do to tell which indicators you've got is you're going to come over here to this drop down indicator. Now you can see I've got volume here. Inside the indicator, I can hide it if I don't want to see it right now. Or I can do the settings. I can also remove it. If you go to the settings, again, you'll have similar ways to control it to your other ones. You can change it. You can make this blue, or you can make it green, however you want to do it. You can do a moving average. So it tells you, hey, over the last 20 days, right now it's set to 20. Over the last time period, where does it sit? So you can see these days that are above this blue line, or there's more volume coming in than the 20 days before it. Right now, these last couple of days have really been sitting at the moving average. So this is saying we're on par as a market. We're getting a lot of interaction, a lot of trading back and forth. This is a good indicator to use when you're doing basic technical analysis. Foundationally, every chart you run should have volume on it. Volume is price action. Price action is volume. If you can't understand that the market is really moving one way or another, up and down, you're not going to be able to trade it. So it is critical that you have these things turned on. If volume wasn't showing on your chart, or if you wanted an indicator, this is where you come to do it. You click on the indicator, you type in volume, and you can see it's highlighted here for me, but it's just straight volume. I'd click it, it would add it in. So I want to use one that is pretty important, and this is something I look at all the time, which is VWAP. And this is volume weighted average price. And so what this is basically saying over a period of time, this is looking at how much or what the average price is that the stock is trading at. Now I'm going to click on this. It's going to add it to our session, and it's this green line in the background. What I'm going to do, because this is a lot of colors, a lot of noise, is I usually like to set my VWAP to white. I get rid of the upper bands, the band fill, because I'm only looking at this bar. Now, if we look at it, you can see it's following it here. So it's not really helping us as much because this moves on a daily basis. And unless there's some huge move like this one, then we're not going to be above and below it too far. So this is really for when you get intraday. A lot of professional traders will use volume weighted price average, and you can see it's kind of a magnet. So it wants to stay here. It goes below a little bit, comes back up, tests it before it rips back higher, comes back, tests it. We're into a new day. It's bouncing around, rejects it, comes down. rejects it, comes down, rejects it, goes down, comes back up to test it, rejects it. So VWAP is really important to look at. Now, this, like I said, this is an intraday tool, but this is one that I find extremely helpful and something I only use intraday, not on the higher time frames. So what I'll do is I'll come over here and I'll turn this off for these higher time frames because I don't want to see it on here. I only want to see it inside the day. If I go back to the daily, it's gone. If I change back to a 30-minute chart, it's there. So this is something that I highly recommend. You guys start out by using. Volume is first, VWAP is second. If you guys don't want to see it, again, you can toggle it off here, or you can set it to the requirements of what time frames you want to see it on. And this rule applies to all indicators. So the next one I like to look at, if we go back to the daily time frame, the next one I start out with is the daily moving averages. So daily, you can see I've got it in here, the smooth moving averages. So basically what this does is it looks back at different time periods based on the daily time frame. And that means that they're set. So it doesn't matter what time frame I go to, it's only going to look at the moving average for the last 20 days, 50 days, 100 days of the given stock. And it's going to transpose that onto each of the stock levels. So if we click on it, you're going to see it starts to populate in here. Now, what I recommend is for everybody to start with, let's see, I want to take off the 10, the 20, and the 100. So we've only got the 50 and the 200. I'd like to change my 50 to blue and my 200 to green. So what I want to show you here is the reason why these indicators are so important is because these are the big ones that will show you a trend switch. So if you look back at time, you can see this really follows the 50. Breaks below here, comes back, is magnetized to it. Again, it's hanging around, it goes over a little bit, hanging back around. The 200 in the green. Now this is something we don't see too often. If it goes below the 200, that's usually an indication of a big trend shift. So, again, here we bounce off it, we come back, we're playing with the 50. Now we keep hanging around the 50-day average. Here's a good example. So this is going back to the tariffs that happened earlier this year. We saw a big drop, big announcement, and then we started to magnetize and go back. We went back to the 50 first, then we get over the 200, we reclaim it, and we haven't come back to the 200 in a long time. If we were to go out and look at history over a long period. So now I'm on the weekly chart, the 1 week, and these bars are still set to the daily. You can see, we're not below the 200 too often. This period that we're below the 200, this is really us coming out of the great financial crisis. So here we're on the 1 week chart. Even if you're looking at this in terms of where the 50 and the 200 are, we support, and this is on a weekly chart. So we support here, going back up, we're hanging around the 50, we come back down. We don't get to the 200, we stay around the 50, we supported the 200. This was kind of a good example to look at. This is the April time period where we had the tariffs announced that we were going to start putting tariffs in place across the globe. We drop under the 200, we tested it, we reject down. This is a great indicator to use to see if the trend is shifting. As you can see in recent weeks, again, looking at the 1 week time frame, we're above the 50, we're above the 200, and we're going higher. We're still above the 50 here. So there's no reason to panic and think that we're going in a downtrend. One thing to note is when the 50 crosses the 200 below, this is called a death cross. And this is usually a sign that says, hey, there's likely something bad happening. The market's shifting. And, had we not started to resolve some of these tariffs, this likely wouldn't have gotten back above and kept us going. When the 50 crosses above the 200, that's called a golden cross. And that's usually an indicator for long-term traders to say, hey, I want to get back in at this point. It proves the stock is going higher, shows us that we're in an uptrend. So this is a good indicator for on the daily time frame of whether the stock is in an up movement or a down movement. So I like to have this on at all times. And whether I'm day trading or I'm adding to my long-term account, I'll use the 50. If this pulls back to the 50, I'll add bigger position here. If it really gets to the 200, I'm adding a lot of position here. So if we look at some other indicators that I like to use, and we'll keep those two on, I like to look at the RSI, which is the relative strength index. Now this one's going to open up in another window down here, and just some of these will open up down here, but you have control over these as well. What the RSI is showing us is looking at a moving average, which is this yellow line, as well as the buying and selling in this purple line. It's already got 70 and 30 marked out. So if something comes in over 70, that means it's overbought. There's too many buyers coming in. There's usually a good indicator that it's going to drop in price because too many people are buying it. Not enough people are taking profit. Not enough people are selling. If it's living near the 50, it's kind of in between. So there's nothing to glean from this indicator until it gets below. But if we look back here, at this April time frame, when these tariffs were going off, you can see this is in the red down here. This is an oversold. Too many people are selling it compared to what it historically does. This is telling us, hey, we should look at this. It's likely going to move back up. And because this is the overall market, it's not something that I would pay attention to too long in saying that, this is a bad state. We're making a major flip here. So you can see we're in red. As soon as it crosses, look at this. It crosses this, the purple crosses the yellow line, which is the moving average. This is a good indicator to tell us that it's time to start going long. And if you would have got long around this point, this thing has only moved up since then, right? So these crosses of the yellow and purple, when they happen, we want to look for the purple to cross the yellow, whether it's to the up or to the downside. Again, here we start to see the yellow crossing. And if you would have got in here when it crossed to the downside, it made a couple moves down before it started going back up. This would have been a great level to come in, sell, or take puts. As it comes in, you can get in again. It crosses, and now this thing just keeps going up. So we haven't had too many overbought or oversold conditions. You can see we got close to it again before we pulled back. The RSI is a great indicator just to kind of give you an indication of strength in the marketplace. Now, I'm gonna take this off screen for a second just so we can focus on the indicators that we've got up here. The other one that we want to look at is the MACD. This is the moving average convergence divergence. And so the MACD is a great indicator to look at in terms of what is the strength and momentum. So some people will use this in conjunction with the RSI. It's basically using the moving averages once again to start to look at how we're trending in the marketplace. So the momentum is strong in these bars, then it starts to weaken, then it gets strong again, then it starts to weaken. Hasn't done much since then, which is kind of interesting to look at. So even though we've been trending up, there's not a lot of confidence or strength or movement in these bars. You can see the MACD is positive, and even while it's flipping, positive, negative, it's still staying positive in terms of momentum. And we're moving positive over time. So these are some indicators that you can use. Again, for us, I don't think it's critical for us to use these in the early part. So focus on VWAP, which isn't showing right now because we're on a daily time frame. But if we go to the 1 hour, you can see the VWAP come back into play. You can see the daily 50 moving average and the daily 200 moving average are still on my screen. The volume is here. And this is really giving us an indication of where we should be looking in the marketplace. So once you've got some of these indicators on and you're comfortable with your chart, you just hit the save. You can rename this chart however you want, so that way it saves. rename, you can call it Gen W if you want, or you call it what you want so it's easily identifiable. But you can create multiple different versions of the chart. So if you want to see one that has a lot of indicators on it, go ahead. I don't recommend that, but you can create different versions of this that you can reference at a moment's notice. So with that, I want to say congrats because you've just set up your first TradingView chart and built a clean, professional looking chart. You're only going to focus on volume, VWAP, and your daily moving averages for right now. This is going to give you a healthy start, but I want you guys to go in and set up these charts, use it for SPY, and start to look at these charts. This is going to give you a great foundation of how to build your charts at any point in time. Create your watch list, add stocks that you feel comfortable adding, whether they're in your long-term portfolio or whether they're stocks that you'd like to trade, whether it's day trading or long-term. I'll leave that up to you guys. But for right now, let's focus in on the SPY. Let's focus in maybe the QQQ as well, because those are both similar to trade. But this is going to be a great starting point. We previewed a little bit of the extra indicators that you can use, including the RSI, the MACD. Those are things that are a little more advanced, and we'll get in deeper on how to use them, when to use them. But remember, down below is going to be a referral link to TradingView. If you guys are interested in getting TradingView started, you can always click on that link. That does support the channel. If you guys do decide to go through with a paid version, you don't need to. The paid versions just have access to more screens that you can split this out into. It has some more real-time data that you can incorporate. But this is how we start building generational wealth. It's one smart chart at a time. If you found this video useful, be sure to hit like and subscribe. The next couple videos that we're going to do, we're going to go in setting up your brokerage accounts, and then we're going to start looking at how I start to look at these charts on a daily basis. We're going to start to look at how I look at these charts on a daily basis, and we're going to start to set up our ones for our watch list on how we look at them on a daily or a weekly chart, a daily chart, and beyond. I hope you found this valuable. Take the time, set up your chart, post any questions that you have down below, and I'm more than happy to answer those, get back to you. We're going to take a deeper dive in future sessions on how to read these candlesticks and understand these charts. But for now, this is a great way to get it set up. Get the habit going of how do you look at these charts. Get the indicators loaded. Get feeling comfortable with what they mean. If you see a big move one day, do you see the volume go with it? If you're looking at a 15-minute chart, do you see it pull off the VWAP and then eventually go back? Over time, do you see the daily 50 or 200 come into play to act as support or resistance? How are you seeing the trends? Take a look at these on your own. As I mentioned, drop the comments below if you have any comments on your specific charts or anything that I showed today, and we will take a look at this in the future. Follow Gen W for more. Hit like, share, subscribe. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you on the next one.